Do I ever get lonely living in a tiny house? I get that question quite a lot. I take it because I live a very different lifestyle than most people, spending most of my time alone. Well, not totally alone though, because I have my dog. But most of my life passes by in my own company, when I build my own house, harvest my own food in the garden, or even go on vacation to remote places. Far from the stereotypical life with a wife, children, 2 cars, a house in the suburbs, and a big mortgage. And while I will admit that I sometimes can miss sharing more of my life with the ones who are closest to me, or even building my life with a significant other, I generally do not feel lonely. Despite the fact that I spend so much time alone when most of my friends are busy building families, go to work with colleagues, and live in populated urban areas. I think it comes down to the realization that being alone and loneliness can be 2 very different things. You can be surrounded by people yet still feel alone, and you can be totally alone yet feel that you are in the best company. So maybe it's not so much about surrounding yourself with people all the time, but more about the relationship that you have with yourself. And what your view of the ideal life looks like. And indeed, why it looks like this. I think the implicit norms of our society and the culture we live in sometimes shape us in ways that we don't even realize. There seems to be a certain urge in society to be social so you don't get FOMO. Social media wants us to be online and available all the time, and many seem to hinge their self-esteem and social status on the superficial display of material things that give them social proof. Like having the newest car, the newest iPhone, the right clothes, or even the biggest house on the block. So, in a way, our human nature as social creatures in a modern society has been hijacked by a system that needs you to buy and get more stuff so that you can feel normal and as a valuable member of society. But what if you don't feel that you fit into this system? Does that mean that you don't belong in society, or that you are inherently antisocial? Of course not, but maybe the question is more about how you want to be social in order for you to have a good life. Exploring this question has been a very big thing for me for the last 5 years, since I left the rat race to go live in a tiny house. I have often wondered how can I challenge the ideas and expectations that I have to myself that, to some extent, have been instilled in me since childhood by society. In particular, ideas about what your life should look like when you are at a certain age. Ideas like this have always felt like a straitjacket to me. And yet it's so damn hard to set yourself apart from them, when everyone around you seems to do something else and also seem to make all the quote right choices in life, like getting a good well-paying job and a life partner and also a family at 25 or maybe 30. And you're just carving out your own lane that takes you further and further away from the trodden path and from other people. But from the onset I felt that this was indeed a very important journey for me to go on, not just because I wanted to be a loner and go live in a forest forever, but because I sensed that exploring and building the relationship that I have with myself takes time and a lot of effort. And also that no matter how I choose to live my life in the future and with whom, I need to build a solid foundation first so that I know who I am, what I want, and why I do what I do. And for me it just takes a little longer than most people, I guess. It took me some time to realize that I'm actually an introvert, and to me that means that I'm charging my batteries only in my own company. And it means that I'm not willing to give up my silence and my peace that easily. However, I do enjoy spending time with others. I just always need some time for myself afterwards. But even that can be hard for some people to comprehend. It just falls outside of the social norm to be a loner. And there is a bit of a stigma around being alone, like there is something wrong with you. And sometimes it feels like that society has been made by social people and for social people. And people can sometimes give you those pitiful eyes and say things like there is someone for everyone, while not realizing that they condescend somewhat, despite their good intentions. Because why is the social setup that you have in your life better than the one that I have in my life? Is it just because most people have partners and families? I guess the downside of democratic thinking and some major belief systems can be that they tend to create an in-group mentality that excludes and otherwise other people who stick out and are different. And often seem to equip members of the larger group with the moral bullets to take a shot at you just for being you. How often have I not heard people suggesting to me that I should do and live much more like them and the majority because it's so much better. Let's just call it the tyranny of the majority that suppresses other ways of living than the mainstream, and I have always just found it a bit unreasonable. Because if you believe in freedom, and who doesn't, then why should everyone not have the freedom to be just as they are? And to be honest, I can sometimes be a bit unsure whether people who really want you to comply with the group rules also truly have an authentic relationship with themselves. Did they ever truly test themselves up against the rules of the group, or did they just tag along because it was the easy way? But anyways, I guess my point is that being introverted is just another way of being a natural human being, despite what other people might think. This tiny house adventure that I'm on is like a coming of age part 2 kind of journey in my life. The first was when I went to school for 18 years and after that lived a normal work life in the city. The second began in 2020 with me going tiny and having to start all over again, learning the necessary life skills to live a different and maybe more authentic life. And even though it does come with a lot of alone time and also self-doubt to embark on such a journey, the funny thing is that it can also come with something unexpected. New friends and company who understand you better and who are a much better fit for you. Looking back on my childhood, I often felt quite lonely in a crowd of strangers because I was so different from most people. I felt liked by most people, but seldomly understood very well, so pretty quickly I got used to doing most things on my own and not expecting anything from anyone. Creating an even greater gap between me and quote normal people because I was the obvious outsider. And I actually felt like that for many years, paradoxically, until I started building a tiny house to go live there alone. Then new people started popping up in my life. People that were a lot like me and seemed to understand my motivations much better. And now several of these people have a place in my heart and in my life in ways where it's almost impossible for me to truly feel alone. And more importantly, that I've learned so much about myself and who I am, and that I actually enjoy my own company. And that there is absolutely nothing wrong with hanging out with yourself or choose to live a more lonesome life if that's what you prefer. The problem is actually not you, but the societal norms that dictate a certain way of living, even though people are very different. Not everyone are geared to be social all the time, and not everyone, like me, can only charge the batteries when they are alone. But I guess my point is that taking the time in life to truly discover who you are can lead to a less lonely life. Not only because you get to attract people who are more like you, but also because you enjoy your own company better when you know yourself better. But that was all for me for this week. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it and maybe even found some inspiration. See you again next week.